Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. I am at the Billy Graham Library in Charlotte, North Carolina. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins right now. One of the last times I was in Charlotte, I was reading about how actor Randolph Scott, great friends with Billy Graham because they were both from here, and lifelong friends once they met. Graham Family Home Place, it says, built by Billy's father William Franklin Graham in the 1920s on Park Road, just a few miles east, and then there's more of the library over there. Let's go take a look at the house. He's been respected by presidents, very well respected religious leader.
It was built in 1927, but Mrs. Graham, Mother Graham, lived here till 1981, and in the 60s she redecorated.
Oh wow.
So this is from the 60s.
What color was it before? Was it white?
I don't know, it was a working farmhouse.
Oh. This is so neat to see.
Yeah. It was originally 4 miles east of here, but has been moved here.
Imagine the conversations and things they would have talked about in here. Him growing up. Wow.
Yeah, from age 9 till he went off to college. This is the home he lived in.
9 till college. Wow.
There's the picture in the lobby of the library that has like the wooden house.
Oh, okay, the house before.
Right. It was 300 acres, about 70 dairy cows. And then Mother Graham was the bookkeeper for the dairy, and that was her office.
Mother Graham's office. Pictures of Billy on her desk. Look, they put Sunday school times on the coffee table.
This is like a family tree and portrait. Father and Mother Graham, their 4 children. Billy Graham was the oldest, his children, his family. His sister Catherine, her family. His brother Melvin, his family. Melvin continued to farm, the family farm, and later had his own farm. And this young man here is the nephew that was responsible for the restoration of the home. And then this is his youngest sister, Jean. And Jean was the oldest, only surviving sibling, but she passed away last week at age 91.
Oh no.
Yeah, so they're all rejoicing together.
Yeah.
Graham was not feeling well, and he passed away about 14 days later.
Oh wow. Again, that was her office where she ran the farm out of.
Everything was dispersed.
Oh, okay.
And the home actually went to a ministry in South Carolina for 10 years.
Oh.
And when that ministry closed, they were going to demolish the house, but Mel Graham didn't want that. He was a developer in the Charlotte area. He actually had the house moved to a warehouse.
Oh wow, so before it was even here, it was in a warehouse. I was wondering because I saw the do not sit, and I was like, hey, I wonder if this is all original furnishings, but...
Right, and then in 2006, when the vision for the library was coming, it was, they moved it again. They take off the 2 porches, the bricks.
Wow, but before that it was in a warehouse, before they moved it.
Right. The flooring, the exterior bricks, The moldings, the staircase, the kitchen cabinets, ironing board are all original.
That's what I figured. That's why I was looking at the floors. Like that definitely wouldn't have been replaced, I wouldn't think.
No.
And Billy's room would have been upstairs.
All 4 bedrooms were upstairs. The boys shared, the girls shared. The parents had a bedroom, and there was always a guest room.
Oh, nice.
And the full bath. Yeah, most of those are actual family memorabilia.
Has it been his mother's glasses?
If you look at some of the photos, they really look like that pair.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Definitely. And then the kitchen over here.
Right. Now that they've restored back with the appliances to the 30s, as it would have been when Billy Graham lived here.
Very neat. Great job. That would have been the kind of lanai or maybe mudroom. Wow, from 9 till he went off to college. That's a big deal because those are your formidable growing years. Becoming an adult, thinking about what you want to do with your life. So cool to know that basically they said his mother lived here till 81, then the house was taken over and used by a ministry for 10 years. Then they were gonna just knock it down, demolish it, and it was Billy's sister's child that Billy's brother's child who went to save this, and they put it in a warehouse and then found a permanent home for it here. So over here is the prayer garden. It's just a nice walking experience. But look at that, how wonderful is that? That's the library. Wow, look at all this. It tells the whole story. Wow. There's the animatronic cow I heard about.
The Bible is Catholic first. And guess what? One day, every living thing, including cows, will praise the Lord. Won't that be a miracle? You know us old milk cows. We love living at the Grand Dairy Farm. But I have to confess,
that cat was
when
moving.
I felt Billy Frank's cold hands at milking time, 5:30 every morning, I'd swish my wet tail right across his face. Gotta admit though, Billy Frank never got after me too much. I think every time he sat down for breakfast with a cold glass of milk, he appreciated my special gift. Louie! Now be sure and get you some of that good old cold milk in the dairy bar before you leave. When Billy Frank left this old farm for Bible school, I sure did miss him. But we heard through the barnyard chatter that God was using him in a mighty way. And he was preaching God's good news to everybody who listened. While when Billy Frank was young, he practiced preaching to tree stumps. And he even practiced some while milking me. Do you know what the good news is? Well, you're going to learn all about it here today. Billy Frank went on to preach that good news to millions of people all around the world. Some people call him God's ambassador, the pastor to presidents, the leading evangelist in the world. Of course, you know who I'm talking about, Billy Graham. But me and the other gals hanging around the dairy barn always call him Billy Frank. Well, he's been preaching the pure milk of God's word for 60 years. So y'all listen close. You'll see how God can use anyone who obeys him. Even a farm boy from Charlotte, North Carolina. And yes, even you, child. Well, now that we've gotten acquainted, let me tell you how you youngins can have a little fun while you're here.
Starting with the movie, and it's telling me that his parents are buried here behind this. This was their wish.
Join us now for the journey of faith.
Since it was a dairy farm, I love that they have the little display over here of the Graham Brothers Dairy.
Today, regardless of their beliefs, people wonder how God used an ordinary man to inspire millions to respond to the message of the gospel.
There is only one person that can send revival, and that is the Holy Spirit. And we're here to honor and glorify only one person, and that is the man in the glory, Jesus Christ.
Thank you for stopping by for a visit. I'm certainly delighted to have you here. Ruth and I have welcomed so many friends here over the years. And you know, they all had one thing in common. At some point in life, they were all looking for peace. It's the greatest need of our hearts. Did you notice when you walked in today, you came in through the foot of the cross? Because of what Jesus Christ did on the cross 2,000 years ago, we can have peace with God and spend eternity with Him. This message has changed my life forever, and it can change yours too.
As God loves us.
Coming to prominence in the mid-20th century, Billy Graham was among the first to understand the power of the media for evangelism and harness that power to reach almost every corner of the world on radio and television with the message of salvation.
We believe that there are many people here tonight that have hungry hearts. You can find everything that you've been searching for in Christ.
That we will feel the loving arms of God wrapped around us, and will know in our hearts that He will never forsake us as we trust in Him. May God bless you all.
It's not about me or the team. It's about God and what He can do in any life that is surrendered to Him, including your own. You can have the hope, the peace, the assurance that comes only by completely putting your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. May God bless your time here today.
Look at this. Another presentation inside the tent. George Beverly Shea's family piano. He was 23 years old and he sat down his mother's piano, discovered a poem. I'd rather have Jesus. He wrote on this.
We're prepared to meet Almighty God, and we're praying that in these days we might see an old-fashioned, heaven-sent, Holy Ghost revival that will sweep our nation from coast to coast.
Most American boys who came of age during the Great Depression. He liked cars, girls, and sports, and dreamed of becoming a Major League Baseball player. But every Sunday, like it or not, Frank and Maura Graham took their youngsters to the Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church in Charlotte. Then, one night, a family friend persuaded Billy to go hear visiting evangelist Mordecai Ham. That night, God began to call Billy.
I just said, Lord, I'm going. And it was on the last verse of the last song that they sang, and about 400 people went forward the night I did. And when I stood there, I thought to myself, what a fool I'm making myself in front of all my friends here. The next day when I went back to school, sure enough, one of my teachers called me Preacher Graham, making fun of me.
Something to eat. And he got up and threw his arms around me and he said, oh, Mother, says the Lord has saved me tonight. Says, I know it. I never can forget those words.
Later, as a student at the Florida Bible Institute, he was encouraged to preach in small churches, and friends urged him to consider full-time ministry. Almost overnight, Billy became a national figure, making front-page news around the world. God was ready to use Billy's ministry to reshape the lives of untold millions.
Now this room is dedicated to his wife Ruth. There's the wedding dress that she wore when she married Billy. And her Bible. Inscribed to my precious wife, Christmas 1945, Billy Graham.
Ruth Bell was born to be an extraordinary woman. Her parents, Dr. Nelson Bell and his wife Virginia, ran a large mission hospital in the town of Huaiyin in eastern China.
In 1916, my parents landed in Shanghai, China, and spent the next 25 years of their lives serving the people of China as medical missionaries. But not only did Mother and Daddy teach the Christian faith in the home they lived in.
As if from birth, God was already preparing her to be Billy's life partner and stretched the vision of this southern farm boy to encompass the whole world.
He told me that this girl from China was the girl I ought to meet. Well, I had my eyes already on another girl. But when I came out and saw her standing there, he said, "That is Ruth Bell." At that moment, I was in love. And not only love, something told me inside she'll be your wife. Now, it took her nearly a year to come to that same conclusion, but it was right there at that spot in front of that building.
God spoke to the college girl, and she realized that her life's mission was not in faraway Tibet, but in loving support of this promising young evangelist. Billy and Ruth were married in Montreat, North Carolina, where the Bells had settled. There, in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains, the young couple would soon make Montreat home for the rest of their lives.
I feel that being a wife and a mother is the happiest and the most wonderful calling in the whole world.
Yes, there can be no doubt that God, who is the master planner, conceived this partnership. He prepared two people on opposite sides of the world, and when the time was perfect, brought them together. Only one woman could have fulfilled that role with such grace and strength and good humor. Ruth Bell Graham.
Now we're going into his radio years. Look at that.
You're welcome to take a seat.
This is the hour of decision with Billy Graham.
And sings my soul, my Savior God to thee.
There is a living God and a living Christ at his right hand. We thank thee that our faith and confidence can be in him. We can have the...
Billy Graham understood instinctively the power of the media. In 1950, Billy Graham has written the newspaper column, My Answer. It is carried today by newspapers across the country with a combined circulation of 5 million readers. But these are not his answers, but God's answers, revealed in the Bible. As the hour of decision touched so many lives on radio, God showed Billy that a new and even more powerful communications medium could bring the message of Christ into millions of homes across America on a flickering black and white screen.
You don't have to teach a child to be bad, you teach a child to be good. The child will automatically laugh. A child will automatically slap its mother. And the Bible teaches that we have this thing down inside us. This is what Christ fought. This is what the Bible teaches from Genesis to Revelation. That we have a disease. And this is why Christ...
Premarital sex relations are wrong. It's funny. To me, it would be like, like driving a car, getting a driver's license without a learner's permit first.
Let's just see now. We have to have rules to live by. And what we're saying is we're going to play a baseball.
Right, and that doesn't seem to you as, say, an egomaniacal position.
On God's part? Oh no, God is perfect.
Yeah. It's funny, when I look in the mirror in the morning, it's hard for me to believe that.
certain job or to do something, or somebody's asked me to run for an office, I've told them the same thing. And I would say it today as I said it then with even more authority. I intend to preach as long as I have the strength to do it.
You get a free copy of Billy's My Answer. It's a birthday tie given to him from Grady Wilson, that black tie.
We'll have about 4 minutes in this room or so.
Cliff Barrow's harmonica. He was on Billy's show. And this was the microphone that Cliff Barrows used for Hour of Decision, which was Billy's show. Here's the Congressional Gold Medal Award given to Billy Graham and Ruth. And that Crystal Award is the Award for Excellence in Public Service given to Billy Graham from George H.W. Bush. This is Billy's Presidential Medal of Freedom given to him in 1983 from Ronald Reagan. Now take a look at this. I mentioned that he was an advisor to many presidents and that Reagan had given him the award. Look at that. There we have a photo with Billy in the center, right out front where we came in, with former President George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and Jimmy Carter over here. And then this was taken at the library dedication. Billy and John F. Kennedy, also with Lyndon Baines Johnson.
As you come this way to notice is that he was pastor to 11 presidents.
Look at this.
And this is his last little interview.
There is a motorcycle presented to Billy Graham. Conclusion of the 1967 Tokyo Crusade by Dr. David Suda. Billy Graham gave the bike to his teenage son Franklin, who rode it and then passed it down to his younger brother Ned. That's pretty cool. At least the family used it.
People that one thing, the state government says another, and they're confused. And there's a tremendous confusion in the problem because it's a constitutional problem as well as a race problem. That all of us could come to the cross and see in Christ a solution of all the problems that bewilder us and confuse us. I tell you, Christ is the answer. Come at the foot of his cross and let him touch your mind and your heart and relax your soul and your heart.
I was to sit back of that and the whites would sit in front. I was appalled at it and decided that I had to speak out on it and had to do something about it.
Asked the ushers and took the ropes down themselves.
Christianity is not a white man's religion, and don't let anybody ever tell you that it's white or black. Christ belongs to all people.
In the crucifixion of Christ, it wasn't just the death of a good man. This was God dying in our place, taking our sins. And he says, if you'll come by faith as a little child.
Because you were made for God, and without God, there's no permanent happiness and no permanent pleasure.
Here they have a couple of guns, and it actually has Billy meeting with gang members, and it says these were turned in to Billy by gang members in New York City during the Billy Graham Crusades. And there are the tickets right here for the Crusades. There's Billy's bridle for his horse. Bucephus. Oh wow, look at this room.
Good ground and great good fruit.
All the way around.
Who are evangelists and other leaders, especially in developing nations. I went away more deep.
Now and through here they have pictures of people he's inspired that are famous, including Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, NASCAR driver Jeff Gordon, George Burns, his pal Randolph Scott, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Arnold Palmer, a young Ron and Nancy Reagan, John F. Kennedy Jr., Johnny Cash, even Muhammad Ali,
I remember when they first started calling me that.
Martin Luther King Jr. Wow, there's some really great photos in here. Look at this, Walt Disney. Then here's a wall of photos of him with world leaders, because he used to counsel other world leaders, not just the ones from the United States. There's Margaret Thatcher. And look at this room.
States for so long boldly emerged to pack churches and city squares whenever being preached.
When you do something wrong, there's a little voice that speaks.
The wall, barbed wire above it. They recreated it in here. Wow.
Now as you get older, you don't hear that voice.
Every room's kind of interactive. It has like a video that goes along with it. Really cool. Really, really cool. Look at all this. Kind of looks like Sting, doesn't it? Wrestler Sting. And then, of course, sadly, the passing.
On November 9th, 1989, thousands of freedom.
Born in 1918, passed in 2018. There's his funeral procession going up the street, Black Mountain, North Carolina. Here they have his U.S. Capitol service honored here with the flag. President Trump greeting Billy's children, and Mr. Graham laying right there. And then the crowd here to bring him home, where we are right now. And there's a photo from the funeral. You can see there's a big cross right there on the top of his casket. There's a photo of his casket right underneath where we came in, under that cross. All right, I made it out to the gift shop, and you can take a fun pic right there with Billy Graham pulpit. That is pretty amazing that they allow that. And it says he did preach from this pulpit. You can see it right there. All the crusades around the world. Shared it with Cliff Barrows, George Beverly Shea, and many guest speakers. That is the one. I think we at least have to come up here and take a look. He would have spoken, wow, through there. And there you can see where he would have lowered or raised the podium. Wow, this is pretty magical. And then as we make our way a little further out, we have this amazing statue. Look at that. The parable sower. And then down the base of his feet. The guitar on the wall up there says this Martin guitar was played by Dennis in many of Billy Graham and Franklin Graham's crusades around the world. Before we go outside and go to the grave sites, the last thing I wanted to check out over here was Ruth's Bible when she was in high school. He had said that she was the finest Christian he ever knew. Oh, one other thing I want to show you. And they say this is the stump that Billy made his plead on, and his most used preaching Bible, gifted to him by longtime friend Pastor W.A. Criswell. So now as we walk out to where we came in, we're gonna head towards the Memorial Prayer Garden, which is following this path. This is a great place and free, all donations. People can't complain about that. Really thorough, very, very thorough exhibit inside, and just a lot of fun. Ruth Bell Graham and Billy Graham, together forever. It says, "End of construction. Thank you for your patience." Ruth Bell Graham. And there's Billy. Grave of Mr. Billy Graham, preacher of the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, John 14:6. And if you didn't get enough information inside, they have a pretty good plaque on each one off to the side. It says, born and raised on a dairy farm just a few miles east of this location, Billy Graham preached the gospel message to millions of people around the world in person and through radio, television, film, books, and the internet. And then on Ruth's, it says she was born in China to missionary parents, carried a lifelong love for the people of this land. The Chinese character for righteousness is placed at the top of her gravestone. The same character is on her father's grave marker in Swannanoa, North Carolina. So there you go. If you notice that, that's what that's about. And of course, Billy has the cross. And then if you follow this trail, he also has a memorial site on the grounds for the Shea and Barrows family. In fact, we saw the piano that he wrote that famous hymn on. So we'll take this down and visit them. Pretty cool. Very nice gesture. Cliff Barrows, Billy Barrows, and George Beverly Shea are all down there. And Billy, her headstone says Wilma. So on the left is Cliff Burton Barrows. And then Wilma Newell Barrows and George Beverly Shea. America's beloved gospel singer, it says. Well, my friends, we're gonna call it a day from Charlotte, North Carolina and the Billy Graham Library. What an amazing experience. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night and goodbye.
Cause there's a great spot